have a better
You are
life
to the
for
right
themselves.
of me on foreign policy.
Well, we already fund Israel, dude.
Yeah.
Are you against that?
That's a tougher question I don't have an answer to.
Then you're in favor of funding military.
No.
Tim Pool brought that up during the debate with Emma, which I'll bring a clip of that later because that was a fantastic job by Emma on that show.
I can't wait. Yeah,
but
Hell,
no,
she did better than me and Lance. I mean, she killed.
I think she did better than everyone. Emma.
Yeah,
crushed.
no, she did fantastic. Yeah.
And it completely broke the beanie. He just,
whoopsie.
yeah. There's now like that's a
Sam
fantastic
puts you up to
sound
this.
drop.
This was Sam Cedar. It's got Sam Cedar all over it. I know Sam. And you're like, what the?
I mean,
Someone told you to say this, and you don't actually know what you're talking about.
I think that it's not shocking that you think that.
I love the idea because I've been watching the aftermath pretty closely, and I love the idea because it does seem like if we were to really boil down what he's been saying in the past couple days after, is she didn't stay for sushi, she's a pedophile. That seems if I were really to boil it down, that would be it.
I actually feel like it's the other way around. Like she's not calling her a pedophile because she didn't sit down for sushi. He thinks she's a pedophile because of what happened on the show. Yet still, for some reason, wanted her to hang out and poker and sushi.
That's a good point. Why would you want to eat sushi with a pervert?
Why would you get dinner with me?
Yeah, if this person's a pervert, you ask him to stay for sushi, like
now Tim Pool's very suspect right now.
But for anyone that doesn't know what's going on here, we should I guess kind of explain. So Emma Vigeland of the Majority Report was on Tim Pool's show, did a fantastic job
arranged
debating
this,
him.
by the way. I set this
up.
Did you
really? Well done.
And afterwards, because Tim Pool was grasping at straws, he had nothing to actually catch Emma on. There was a point in the debate where Tim Pool brings up this book that's about sex education, and because one page talks about like a job, he's like freaking out about it. Was it that book, Genderqueer?
This is the book, and it's a story, a coming of age story about being asexual. That scene that they all point towards, that's someone discovering their own asexuality with a plastic phallus. I'll have you know, it's a strap on. It's not even the job scene. They're all like, yeah.
So because Emma's like, yeah, whatever, it's a book about sex ed, who cares? He turned that into, well, Emma's a pedophile. It's just like, because he had nothing to go on. So I mean, there's so many points from the debate, but this one, to me, I think this is getting less attention, but it deserves more attention because it is so clear that Tim Pool is completely full of shit. This is their debate about war, where Tim Pool is arguing that he's actually to the left of Emma on war because
so we get to Palestine.
and then it turns, and then you're going to see what happens here. It's pretty good.
If you believe that Russia should be able to invade Ukraine and take territory without recourse, then I mean that's pro-imperialism. That's not, and that's still pro-war.
No,
yes, it is.
A lot of people, around the world do a lot of bad things. I don't think the U.S. should be an empire going and funding wars all over the world.
We're not funding wars. We're funding the defense. I mean, and there's something that you can be said where should we draw a certain line? I have already conceded that strings should be attached and we should be involved in peace negotiations. But to flatten the power dynamics here, I mean, I would imagine this is like the same argument that you hear when it comes to Israel and Palestine, right? Where Palestinians are defending themselves, and then it's, oh my gosh, they are just it's completely symmetrical. Israel and Palestine. These are two actors just battling it out.
So you're in favor of intervention there?
I would love to fund the Palestinians so that they were able to have a better life.
You are to the
for
right
themselves.
of me on foreign policy.
Well, we already fund Israel, dude.
Yeah.
Are you against that?
That's a tougher question. I don't have an answer to.
It's so
blatant. Like, come on.
Yeah, but to be fair, Israel-Palestine, that's not a big issue that you should know much about if you're a political commentator with making millions of dollars doing this, you know.
And the funny thing, like, he claims to have a principled position. He's anti-war. He's anti-funding any war. So he wouldn't, even if that was the case, even if it was like, I don't know, a small situation he didn't know about, he should still have the principal position. Well, I don't think I'm against funding Israel, but he can't bring himself to say that because he understands what his audience is. Like it's so
I'm
clear.
so happy I get to talk about this with all of you because I'm so curious. Have you picked up on why does he care so much? Did you see the leaked text between Tim Pool and Sam Seder where like it sounds like he wants their friendship so badly? You know, it's like, oh, well, why didn't you talk about how like I actually talk about Flint water and how I'm on the left of that? Well, why didn't you talk about my positions and how I'm a leftist? Why don't you talk about my skate park? Why did you change the volume of my
song? You advocate for Trump. You advocate for Republicans. This idea that he's progressive because he's for universal health care. Bro, you barely talk about that issue. And even if you did, who do you support? Who do you advocate for? People that have taken away health care. You can't claim to be for universal health care. It's such bullshit.
Well, he's mentioned this a few times, and I honestly think this is why he has like a soft spot for Sam. And no matter how much he tries to pretend that like it doesn't bother him, he obviously doesn't want him on the show because there's this he always brings up this unwritten, unpublished blacklist that no one except Tim Pool ever brings up. But you and I will concede that it's not impossible to believe that people like Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin actually talk with each other and agree to not have Sam Seder on their shows because what he says about them. But Tim has told me before that, like, you know, Sam, oh, it's broken.
Yeah, it's doing the thing again. It's
getting
back.
A little click,
rearing its ugly head. It was good for weeks.
All right, let's try.
Fix.
There we go.
Yeah.
Fixed. Okay, good. All right, so you know, Tim has told me when I was there, even that like, yeah, you and the Majority Report and Sam, like when I was there. So it was back in 2011 during Occupy. He was like, you guys gave me my first media hit. You were the first people to contact me and have me on a show when I was down there live streaming Occupy. I mean, I remember sending the email to Tim. So I do think he'll always just randomly, at least like, you know, once every few weeks, just randomly slide into my replies and start commenting, and it's not really always relevant either to what I'm saying. It's very bizarre.
He's he's super upset, and it is kind of weird watching the past couple days where it's a fascinating character study because like he is really upset and really obsessed with like Emma not looking at the skate park and getting the skate. Like you can feel this is real upset, and it's like, dude, you're a multi-millionaire, and
you have an underground skate park.
Yeah, you have an underground skate park. You live on a compound where you march around barking at people what to do. It's like this is the dream of every, you know, like conservative and stuff. Like on paper, you have everything. Yeah, you have chicken. You're running around chasing, doing whatever with these chickens. On paper, he has everything everybody in America wants, but he's like
everything a Tim Pool could want.
Yeah, exactly. His fists are clenched about this. I mean, you know, he's like the Citizen Kane of our time. He wants what he can't have, which is the approval of Sam Seder and Emma and Matt Binder, and he can never have it. You know.
You know, he was
especially like Donald Trump in that way, where it's like Donald Trump is like this guy who has everything, but he wants that love of Hollywood. He wants that love of other celebrities.
Yes.
Like, he'll never be happy.
Yes.
Yeah. He was mad that Emma didn't stay because you know how like when you're 8 years old and you're on the trampoline and you're like, Mom, watch, I'm going to do a flip. Mom, are you looking? He wanted to do that with Emma, but be like, Emma, I'm going to ollie, look. Emma, are you watching? Emma! You know, like that's what he wanted to do.
I would not be surprised if he had printed out a whole plan to impress Emma with skate tricks.
Emma, I've got a tech deck too. Look, Emma, did you see that? Pop shove it. Emma, look.
There's an amazing clip too. I should have sent it to you guys, but it's him on maybe like 2 days ago his live show or whatever, where he's talking to, I can't remember the guy's name. He has this guy who used to be like a hardcore singer who's on his like live panel or whatever. And
from All That Remains, right?
From All That Remains, yeah, whatever that guy's name is. Yeah. And they're talking about, they're like, they literally say this. I'll send you guys the clip, but they're like, Emma and Sam are really mad because they're jealous. And they're jealous because they don't get invited to, Congress. Because Tim Pool did a live stream from like Lauren Boebert's thing and like Matt Gaetz thing, you know, like he's live streamed with them, from Washington, D.C. before. And I was like, Emma made that exact point, that you're accepted by the power structure and that the majority report is not. And to me, that's like really good proof of that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're in. Like, none of your views really challenge power that much, you know? So you're going to get invited. You know what I mean?
I was astonished that he got so mad at the Nazi part, and like, good on her for saying that. But like, this seems a very kind of like this. He thought it was a gotcha. He thought the whole thing was like a secret plot by Sam Cedar to expose him and get, you know, all this stuff. It's like, it's just a very regular question. Why is it that a neo-Nazi master watched your show, specifically when you had another neo-Nazi as a guest on your show? Why doesn't that bug you? You know, like any normal person would be like, well, I mean, I don't like Nazis, don't want to be associated with the Nazis, so maybe I don't want to keep doing that, unless you want to defend the Nazis.
He tried to avoid bringing it up when it first was unveiled. Like I think he was upset that it seemed like he was upset that she brought it up on his show. Now, I don't watch every Tim Pool episode, so he can correct me if I'm wrong, or any Tim Pool fans can correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think he ever brought it up on his show because he didn't want to touch on the subject. I mean, you would think that if someone posted this stuff, then you would want to say, I don't support this. It's horrible.
Well, he said it was a psyop.
Yeah, instead of like doing that, just be like, this guy does not reflect my views. It's horrible that he watched and took something away from this show, but I don't know what, you know, he didn't even try to like, other than, like you said, come up with some sort of conspiracy theory that totally deflects
got mad at her.
situation.
He got Sam Cedar put her up to the whole thing, which is just like so wild. It's like, is this not going to be a sober, reflective moment where it's like, yeah, so that neo-Nazi mass shooter, the one with the swastika, he was watching the episode where you had a neo-Nazi on your show, Nick Fuentes. That's the episode, right? But instead it was just like, Sam put you up to this. I know Sam did this. This was Sam. Sam's fingerprints are all over this, Emma. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
It's so
he
weird.
He could have easily said it was a mistake to have that guy on. I shouldn't have had him on. Like, if he actually, if this was how he, obviously he doesn't feel this way, but if that's how he actually felt and it was a bad thing to do, he would apologize and be like, it was a terrible idea. I shouldn't have had him on. I didn't challenge him properly. But no, he gets super defensive, starts yelling, and Emma perfectly just like sits there, like, looking at him like and he's getting angry because he can't get a reaction out of her. She did a great job.
Yeah, the fact that she held her composure and he got so red and so triggered, it was beautiful to see. Yeah, that was amazing. And you do it really well, Lance.
I mean, it seems like the most obvious thing for him to have done, having Emma on the show, is to simply not demean her in a sense where, oh, you're a girl who can't have your own thoughts. You must be hearing from Sam Cedar. Like, it seems like such an obvious thing to not do. Like, it's like unbelievable. He like, not only did he like fall into that, and I'm not even gonna say it's not even a trap because Emma didn't set it for him. He like set up his own trap and fell into it. Not only is it obvious not to do that, but not to do it in such an over the top, tropey way like he did with the high pitched voice and the little like bobbing of the head and eye roll. It was very weird.
Grifters. This is what you do. I can invite you on for a real conversation, and what do? Your show's for neo-Nazis. This is why you guys don't get invited places, because you're not having real conversations.
I don't really care about getting invited places.
Yeah, right. So go live in your Grifter echo chamber where you guys can play songs with bad audio and then say, whoopsie, Grifters. Play songs with bad audio and then say, whoopsie.
You know what, the audio thing is
the audio thing is amazing.
The audio thing is it's maybe one of my favorite political debates of all time. Yeah.
Because I wasn't there the first time they played it. I thought, because we did listen to another song shortly after, but he apparently saw the one that was when Emma and Matt Leck were just listening to it. And, I had no idea what he was talking about. And then when I checked the clip afterwards and I listened to it, I was like, oh, I see what happened. You know, when you live stream audio, it doesn't sound the same if you're just playing a recording like that. There's a little bit of like, not distortion, but it doesn't sound like you're listening to it crystal clear because it's going through all these like secondhand like audio gates and things like that. But it clearly is not like purposely messed with. It's just like if someone's playing, if you're listening to a Twitch streamer and they're playing a song, it doesn't sound like you're listening to it in HD quality on Apple Music or Spotify.
It sounds slightly to make fun of it either.
Yeah, and like the idea that the problem with that song is that like the mids are taken out of it, like that's the issue. Like, really?
All right, that's that. That's not even what we were talking about. It's not like we were like the production quality on this song is subpar. It needs to be no. We were talking about, well, at least when I was there, we were talking about the song. I mean, my biggest issue with it is he thinks he made an emo song when it was just like a radio rock Nickelback number. He clearly doesn't know anything about the actual genres of the music he's claiming to play. In what world is that emo? What he's doing? No one would call it that.
Absolutely not. And the implication, I guess, would be that you're using some kind of compression through your stream so that the stream can run faster, right? And that's going to cut down sound quality. So the implication would be, no, we're gonna like link a FLAC file or something so that you could get like the full audio file experience. Like what? Because what he was implying was like you made my purposefully made my song sound bad when it's just like no, like if you're streaming something.
Exactly. It's one thing for him to say, well, it was being streamed, so it didn't sound as good as it could have been. It's another to say you purposely made it sound bad. Like, how conspiratorial and out of your goddamn mind do you have to be?
Well, I guess this is the beauty. This is the beauty of Tim Pool and why I've been watching his videos for so long, is that we are dealing with somebody who's, let's just say, maybe hasn't fully entered adulthood psychologically or something like that. And it is like, it does feel like blank check to me. Like his whole thing is just blank check. He has not a lot of maturity, but a lot of money.
And for him to call Emma and Sam grifters, where at the beginning of their discussion, he was talking about how he monetizes his audience better and Sam doesn't know how to make money.
I forgot about that.
Bro, like that, you just blew the whole thing open. You exposed you're doing this for money. You purposely do things for money. Whereas Sam and Emma, hey, they're trying to educate people. Sometimes it's dry. Sometimes they're not going to make a lot of money, but they have a different goal in mind. And then for him to turn that around is just, god damn, he's just so, I just don't understand how anybody can watch him and like seriously in a way where they think they're learning something. Like, isn't it clear to people that he's full of shit?
Tim obviously comes from like this skater punk ethos where it's all about access. You want to hang out with members of Congress. Nothing is more punk rock than, I mean, it is incredible. I mean, the idea that like, listen, I find the fact that all of us are like on the outskirts and wouldn't be invited by members of Congress to make to mean that we're legit. We're legit. I mean, it doesn't get more legit.
Well, he also has a political party. Like the Republicans, he has a party that represents his interest, you know? I don't think we do, you know what I mean? Like we have some fringe, we have like Bernard Sanders, you know, and that's pretty much it. Like he has a political party that represents all that stuff. Transphobia, border wall panic, like they represent all that stuff. And so they invite him and that's it. Yeah, he's not on the fringes of anything. I mean, he's not speaking truth to any power, I don't think.
And just go back to
Well, we should use this opportunity to say next week you could find us all Leftist Mafia live in Washington, D.C., hanging out with Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Ilhan Omar live in their office in Congress.
Absolutely.
Those are people we even support for the most part.
Yeah.
And we're not
and they're still afraid of us because they know we're going to ask them hard questions.
Right, we're not like hanging out with them and like going to barbecues and I don't even know.
On the groomer thing again, where he's trying to like call Emma a groomer or whatever. Like Tim Pool had Jim Jordan on his show. Like this is the ultimate pedophile defender. Like so, and what didn't have him on to like grill him? Like he had him on for like a conversation with a Republican. Like it's just so again the whole thing he creates around himself, this whole idea of who he is just so empty.
You know, one thing that I will say in response to that groomer stuff, so he basically tried to get Emma to denounce Genderqueer, the book that Lance said had like this scene of like, what was it, a strap on or something like that, and that's kind of like
I'll just say in like 10 seconds. It's a coming of age story involving a non-binary individual who is also asexual and discovers asexuality throughout the course of the book. And like every right winger has run with this, like it's hardcore pornography. And like as someone who has had penetrative sex at least once in my life, I will tell you that this is not hardcore pornography. This is someone who is using a strap on in a scene and realizes they don't like having sexual encounters, and that's like, you know, the rest of there's very little like discussions around sexuality for the rest of the book as well. It's mostly about identity and just living and growing and loving and all that kind of stuff.
Well, listen, when they bring this up to you, you can, it's bad faith, right? That's obvious. But you can play the same game that they play. Okay, so I have this article. It's from Slate. Ask them if they defend this. This is from a book that is found in a lot of schools across the United States. Okay. This is a quote, a direct quote. If two men, a man and his countryman, are struggling together, and the wife of one comes near to deliver her husband from the hand of one who is striking him, and puts out her hand and seizes his genitals, then you shall cut off her hand. You shall not show pity. I've got another quote from this book. Okay, I'm going to tell you which book in a moment if you haven't already guessed. Okay. You also took the fine jewelry I gave you, the jewelry made of gold and silver, and you made for yourself male idols and engaged in prostitution with them. They're talking about those. This book is in schools. Do you want to know which book this is, motherfucker? It's the goddamn Bible. Okay, it's the Bible. Yeah.
That's that one about incest, right? Lots of incest and genocide.
Bestiality.
I thought it was the Fountainhead.
Onanism. Yeah. So play that same game with them, because they don't want to say that the Bible should be removed from schools, because their evangelical audience isn't going to like that. So do what they do to you back to them. Like, throw it in their faces. Like, use the Bible, use anti-theism as a cudgel, because it works. It shows their hypocrisy like that.
Yeah, one of the stories that Tim Pool brought up to try to dunk on Emma was the story. I don't know if you guys read this or did a thing about it. It was a while back, but it was a lady in Illinois who they were doing like basically like a mini book fair thing in like middle school, I think. And they put a bunch of books out. It was like you could pick a book if you want to. And one of the books was, I think it's called How to Be Gay or something like that. And it was like one of the books that you could pick. And somebody called the cops on her. the cops, they called the police on her. And here's the funny thing about her is she was a teacher for 20. Yeah, she was a middle school teacher for 20 years. I mean, this is somebody who's like a real asset as a teacher. They called the cops on her, and I think she quit. I think she like quit being a teacher because these parents were driving her nuts with this stuff. Yeah, so it's like, and that was one of the things that Tim Pool brought up to dunk on her. He didn't tell that version of the story. He told the version, his version was there was a lady trying to indoctrinate the students with sexual books. And it's like, hey, maybe look like exactly. You look into the details.
They've been doing this for a long time though when it comes to sex ed. It's only becoming more of I guess a cultural issue among the right-wing influencers. But like conservative parents have been waging a war against sex education for I mean, I'm 36 years old. So I remember when I was a kid and hearing about it. You know, I went to Catholic school and we learned about sex ed in 5th grade. I mean,
same here.
Even
I learned in 5th grade too. Yeah.
Like that's when school, like and not just like the basics. Like we learned about everything that safe sex, the STDs, HIV, and AIDS. Again, Catholic school, mid-90s. I mean, the fact that we are debating this in 2023, even in in any sort of school, private or public, is insane.
Yeah, and didn't Emma bring up the point that if kids know about sex, then they're less likely to get preyed on by adults because they know what is and is. Like, they need to learn about consent. They need to learn about these things. So if you actually care about kids, then you need to enable sex education in school. 1, because abstinence-only education doesn't work. And 2, because they're going to learn anyway. Should they learn from the internet or their friends or learn from an actual instructor? You know, it just, and look, like Matt said, I learned in 5th grade. It's not a bad thing, right? It's not grooming. They didn't groom me to be straight, even though that's all I was taught, in school. It's ridiculous. Like, again, it feels like they keep dragging us backwards more and more each year with these weird debates that were fine. And then all of a sudden it's an issue again, like drag queens, right? 0 pieces of legislation for years. And then all of a sudden in 2019 we start seeing drag bans or fear mongering about drag shows in 2020, not 2019. So like all the previous years, you know, it's not a problem, but all of a sudden it's an issue. Like I'm tired of having these fucking conversations. It's unserious. Yeah.
And you know what? The crazy thing is, too, like, aside from the conservative parents, like the local activists who go to the school board meetings, and even some of them fit into what I'm about to say, a lot of these right-wingers, especially the influencers, don't have kids! They're childless!
Yeah.
They're the ones talking, stay away from our kids! You don't got any! Stay away from my kids!
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Tim Pool's a good example. He's very concerned about the kids. He's got none. And hopefully no prospect of having any anytime soon.
I mean, like, but they're obsessed with kids, and then even when it gets to the abortion debate, just put your baby up for adoption. Then why don't you fucking adopt, motherfucker? You rich and you're childless conservative activist, Charlie Kirk, Tim Pool, all these guys, Michael Knowles.
Orphanages.
Right? Yeah. Why don't you? What? At least Matt Walsh puts his money where his mouth is and actually has kids. I mean.